Various types of saws, particularly power saws, are important tools allowing us to complete certain jobs here at the water utility. However, these tools also require specialized training and maintenance so that workers can operate them safely. Saws are used every day on water utility job sites, from simple hand saws to powerful cutting machines. Although the various types may be quite different, they share some common hazards and the requirement for safety precautions. This video focuses on the use of power saws used to cut various types of utility pipes and those used to cut pavement or concrete to access underground work areas. The first step when selecting the most appropriate cutting tool is to determine what saw and blade will provide the proper result once the cut is complete. That is primarily based on the material size and hardness to be cut. Using a saw or blade not designed to efficiently cut through a material will usually damage the tool and create a safety hazard for its operator. Industry standards and manufacturer recommendations help utility personnel determine what saw works best in water utility applications. It's best to follow specific manufacturer recommendations and OSHA standards for each job task. Here, though, are some general guidelines to be aware of. Many common blades are named specifically for the material they are designed to cut, such as masonry, wood, PVC, and concrete or asphalt. Generally speaking, the more teeth per inch on the blades, the cleaner the cut. Grind or finish blades have teeth that work to slice the material and thus result in a cleaner cut. Blades with fewer teeth are capable of cutting thicker material. Rip blades cut fast at high feed rates, but do not make smooth cuts. A non-ferrous metal or plastic cutting blade is used for aluminum, brass, copper, lead, and most solid plastics. Carbide-tipped and diamond blades are more expensive, but require less frequent sharpening and make the smoothest cuts. And a reminder that using power tools to cut asphalt cement pipe is prohibited by law. In addition to general utility safety training, anyone using these saws should have specific tool training and have read the entire operating manual and manufacturer's guide for each different saw used on the job. Operators should also review these documents prior to each use. Saws and power equipment should carry all industry approvals, including the Underwriter's Laboratory symbol. Before cutting and plugging in electric saws, check for worn bearings, damaged power cords, and faulty on-off switches. Make sure the saw is in the off position prior to plugging it in. Check for loose bolts or nuts, lubricant leakage, or excessive evidence of rust. If it is a powered saw, make sure its housing or casing does not have breaks or damage holes in it. Make sure the cutting mechanism is sharp and not crooked or bent, cracked, or split. Ensure the blade is securely fastened or bolted into place and does not wiggle loosely if you try to tap or vibrate it gently by hand. Follow manufacturer's recommendations on blade replacement. Check the safety guards to make sure they are in place and secure. Make sure the machine warning placards and labels are in place and legible. Check the saw for proper blade directional rotation. If your inspection of the power saw indicates that it is damaged or if it needs servicing, put a tag on it indicating it should not be used, so that others will not pick it up and use it in a hasty moment. Indicate on the tag what is wrong with the unit and arrange to either have the unit repaired, serviced, or disposed. If the manufacturer's operating manual indicates regular service and maintenance intervals for the unit, make sure you follow that preventative maintenance schedule. Before cutting, also make sure the appropriate personal protective equipment is available to complete the task. In the case of power saws, use head protection with safety glasses and/or a face shield. Hearing protection is required for any noise level above 85 decibels, which includes nearly all power saws. Respiratory protection may be necessary depending on the material that is being cut and the level of operator exposure. Steel-toed safety shoes are also needed. Wear suitable close-fitting clothing and long trousers. Avoid wearing or secure loose jewelry items such as neck chains and bracelets. tie back long hair. When using chainsaws, special ballistic nylon reinforced chaps, pants, gloves, and boots are also required. And of course, if work is taking place near the traffic areas, appropriate high visibility clothing is also needed. Make sure the operator is always clear of moving or rotating parts. Never leave the machine unattended while running. Never let your concentration waver from the task of cutting once you've started. If you find you need to take your attention away from your sawing task, such as by looking at what caused a nearby loud noise or by responding to a co-worker's shout, always allow the saw to turn off, power down, and stop moving before you take your attention away from it. And never gas, lubricate, or service a running machine. Every asphalt or concrete cut is a little different, so calculate the length and depth of the cut to determine the manufacturer's recommendation for horsepower or type of machine and which saw blade is necessary. Forcing a saw that is not big enough for the job can cause a kickback. Some street saws have dust-free cutting with vacuum ports, but the majority will require water to control the dust. So make sure you have an adequate amount on hand. Breathing this dust can result in health issues such as silicosis, a severe disease that can scar the lungs. If the saw is equipped with a self-propelling drive, make sure the forward, reverse, and speed control is in neutral before engaging the drive. If you need to maneuver the saw into position, make sure the blade is retracted or raised above ground level so it doesn't strike the surface. When you are ready to start the cut, lower the blade slowly into the material being cut. Do not allow the blade to drop onto the pavement surface as it may damage it or cause kickback. Most saws have a depth stop. Do not allow flanges or belts to rub on or contact the material surface. Always cut in a straight line. Whether the saw is self-propelled or a push model, never force the blade while cutting. Use consistent forward speed and allow the blade to cut and not climb out of the cut or stall in the cut. Forcing it can cause a kickback. If the blade stops or stalls during the cut, immediately raise it above the surface. Turn the power source off. Allow the blade to cool and then check the blade flanges, nut, and/or bolt and the blade guards to make sure everything is tight and not compromised before continuing with the cut. Next, we'll look at using hand power saws to cut utility water pipes. During installs, repairs, and tie-ins, generally speaking, the technique and equipment is fairly similar. The main difference will be the type of blade used. PVC, DIP, PE, and HDPE, for example, may require different blades. Although there are some blades, such as diamond blades, that will cut a variety of materials. Different styles include circular and chainsaw type pipe cutting saws. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations for matching the proper blade with type of pipe material. Now we will discuss proper pipe cutting techniques that apply to the majority of situations. Utilize appropriate traffic management procedures in work areas near traffic. Before cutting, make sure the immediate area is clear of people, tools, debris, and other obstacles. Keep in mind that cutting and grinding is considered hot work. Never cut in the vicinity of flammable materials or in areas without proper ventilation. Have first aid kits, fire extinguishers, and emergency call numbers on hand. Always make sure the pipe surface that is being cut is properly supported so it won't move or flex during the cut. As you begin to cut, allow the blade to work at a steady pace. Never force it through the material. Don't rock the saw back and forth. Allow the weight of the saw to help pace the cut. Never twist or turn the blade while cutting. Make a straight, even cut. Don't exceed the maximum operating speed recommended by the manufacturer and never cut material not listed by the manufacturer of that saw and blade. The use of gas-powered pipe saws within excavations requires the use of ventilation equipment to prevent carbon monoxide buildup. If a blade or saw appears to overheat, turn the tool off immediately and allow it to cool down. After it has cooled, check it carefully to make sure neither the saw nor the blade have been damaged. Make sure the saw is turned off when not in use to change the blade, or to check any of its parts for damage or wear. Depending on the type of pipe being cut, if you were tying into a joint or connection, it may be necessary to conduct some post-cut maintenance. For example, in the case of DIP, the outside of the cut end should be beveled at about 1/4 inch at an angle of about 30 degrees. This procedure is used to remove sharp, rough edges that might damage the gasket or connection. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations for the tool used in this process to avoid damaging it. Again, consult the specific pipe manufacturer for recommendations of smoothing these freshly cut ends. Like so much else we do out in the field, operating a power saw safely depends on several key factors: having the right equipment, knowing how to operate it, and then taking some extra time to make sure that all safety precautions are being followed.